Hi, Animesh. Good evening.
Hi, Niranjan. Very good evening.
So, uh, we are before time, so let's wait for others to join.
Yeah, sure. Our time is 8:30. We have still six
Yep.
minutes.
Yeah, still 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
Are you able to listen to me clearly? My voice is clear.
Your voice is clearly audible.
Okay, thank you.
That's right.
Hi, Sachin. Good evening.
Hi, Ranjit. Hi, good evening.
How is your health now?
Oh, yeah, better.
Sure. I hope you have seen the message sent by Prashant.
Yes.
Okay. So we have good another 5 minutes. So let's wait for people to join.
Sure.
Sachin, it is already 2 minutes over time. Should we wait for maybe another minute or so and then start the session, or what do you suggest? Sorry, Sachin, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Niranjan? Okay.
Yes, now I can hear you. Yes,
Yeah, I was saying we can wait for 1 or 2 minutes. That should be okay.
sure.
I'm sharing my screen. I hope it's visible, right?
Yes, I can see the slide.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we can start now, Niranjan. We waited for 5 minutes, I think.
Yep, sure. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Niranjan Nigam, and I welcome all of you to this session, introduction session on SAFE Product Owner and Product Manager certification. To lead this session, we have our faculty Sachin Daigude, who has more than 15 years of IT industry experience. He has been working on SAFE for more than 5 years now, and he is a consultant apart from being a trainer. With that, I hand it over to Sachin.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Niranjan. Good evening or morning or afternoon, whatever, based on your time zone. Thanks for joining. Um, I hope I'm audible. I'm sharing my screen. I hope the screen is visible. Just to confirm that the setup is okay, so that I can continue.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so just quickly introduce. I think Niranjan did my introduction, but just to quickly elaborate it a bit more. So my name is Sachin. I'm from Pune. As Niranjan mentioned, I started my career as a programmer developer. Eventually got into management roles. Had my flavor of Scrum Agile experience somewhere starting 2009-10. After about 15-16 years experience in the industry, I left my job and I took Agile coaching and training as a full-time career. So since last about 11 years, I've been working as a consultant. Been currently also working with a couple of organizations as a agile coach, and of course I do some trainings, and when I get the opportunity, I'm SPC obviously, and a few other credentials. So that's a little bit about me. Quickly to see what we'll cover today. So we will quickly recap this POPM role and see how it fits in the context of SAFE. Some of you are already familiar maybe with SAFE as a framework, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Just to set the context, we'll briefly touch upon what this role is and how it fits into the context of SAFE as a framework. And then we'll go into details of this certification part. So about the certification or about this module, we'll talk about as to what typically gets covered as part of this credential. What is the overall process like? About this certification exam, what you should expect, what all you will get as a certain help from Scaled Agile Academy, and also the about the exam, like what's the pattern, what the type of questions that you get, how many questions, and cost, and all of that. So we'll see those details during this next 30-40 minutes. So I'll try to keep it around 30-40 minutes, and then we'll leave the rest of the time for questions, if any. So just to briefly set the context about this product owner and product manager role, again, some of you might be already familiar, and this is a module which focuses on both these roles, the product owner and the product management role. The product manager is a role which is specific to the SAFe as a framework, meaning it's in the context of SAFe as a framework. They have introduced this. So we'll just quickly see what these roles are, where they differ or where is the overlap, etc., and then we'll go into details of the certification. Just to set the context, I mean, basically the idea of this role was that not everything that we build in any product is equally important. Everything is important, but everything is not equally important. When we use any product, any application, software application, there are certain features we'll use more often, and there are certain capabilities of the same application or the product we'll use less often. So there'll be this 80-20 rule. I'm sure you must be familiar with something called Pareto's law. That applies here as well. So what people had this observation that generally 20% of the features of any application are used 80% of the time. For example, if you just take the tool that we are using right now, the Google Meet feature, we'll be using about 20% of the features 80% of the time. And that really will apply to most of the applications that we will be using. Just look at any products that you use as an end user and see, you'll notice that this is probably true, that you will use 20% of the capabilities of any product or application more than 80% of the times. Which means everything is not equally important. So then if we identify those 20% which are used 80% of the times and maybe build those quicker or faster, maybe we will be able to achieve better outcome with a less output. We deliver only 20% of the capabilities, which is output, but it delivers maybe 80% of the outcome, which is value for the end users. That is what some people felt. With Agile as an approach, which is iterative, incremental by nature, anyways, we build incrementally and we iterate through this entire cycle of analysis till testing every few weeks, and we keep building stuff incrementally. So anyways, if you're building it incrementally, might as well take advantage of this 80-20 rule and then build first, build those 20% of the features earlier. So that was the idea, and that is where the expectation of prioritizing stuff comes in, so that we get the maximum bang for the buck that we are spending. So there is output that you generate every sprint, but that output has to result into the correct outcome, which means it has to be fit for purpose, it has to be worthy enough, important enough, etc., etc. So somebody has to keep an eye on that, and then make sure that we get the maximum value out of every increment that we build. And that is where comes this need of the role of a product owner, right? So basically any organization should or will look for this approach, which is agile, primarily to improve the product that we are building and also the process with which we are building it. Both of them are to be continuously reviewed, adapted, etc. That is the whole intention. So we want to learn quickly and adapt. So that's where we need feedback on the product or increments that we're building. And anyways, if we're building it incrementally, might as well focus on the right stuff first. That was the idea. But naturally, as a developer or an engineer, instead of engineer deciding what is the first thing to build, maybe you need more of a product person who understand what is the usage pattern, how the end users are going to deal with this product or application finally, which 20% will translate into best 80% outcome, etc. And that is where the product owner role comes in. Now there are different methods under umbrella of agile. We can use any of these methods with SAFe as a framework. So it doesn't say we have to use Scrum. SAFe is Scaled Agile Framework for Enterprise. So any agile framework is okay. Scrum is most commonly used, and that is where product owner is a role which is described in Scrum as a framework. XP will call it by some other name, etc. But then primarily this role does exist. Somebody who has to do a value-based prioritization. That is there in any of the agile methods. It's just that the nomenclature or some rules of the game will be different in each of these methods. Scrum is very popular. So product owner is a very commonly known term or known role name probably. So with Scrum, we have these three roles. Product owner, as I mentioned, is a somebody who has to maximize the value delivery or always look for better outcome for every output that we produce. That's the main responsibility of this role. The team builds the right output, or they do it right, but then the product owner has to make sure that we are doing the right stuff first, and then the team will do it right. So that is how these two will have to complement each other. And there is a scrum master role. Now this is how fairly it will be there in most of the agile methods, and so is scrum. Now when this becomes part of a safe as a framework, scaled agile framework, uh, again we are not going to go into detail, just to set the context. There is this role which is going to be an owner of a backlog, but now with safe as a context, which is scaled agile framework for enterprises, we are going to use maybe scrum or any of the agile methods at scale. So what changes is more number of people will be working together, but with agile practices and building a little larger solution. That's how the context is, which means now we will end up having multiple scrum teams who will have to work together, etc. So which means there will be a bigger backlog, which will be representing an overall work to be done by the entire group, but then it will have to be divided into multiple, logically sliced into multiple teams. Now we may use Scrum, we may use XP or any agile method. That is what SAFe as a framework says. Um, there's a lot of background noise. Can you please go on mute, please? Okay, thanks. So with this context, we will have multiple teams, which means now every team will have to have its own backlog, which means every team will have to have its own role, which is product owner role. So only thing is we will have multiple such teams who will have to synchronize and work together as a cohesive unit, which is what is represented by Agile Release Train. So we are not going to go into the details of the framework, but just to set the context. Now, because we have multiple teams, each team will have its own backlog, its own share of work, and it has to be prioritized and owned by this role. But now we have a larger work which is distributed across multiple teams. So now we have overall work maybe spread across 100 different people, maybe 10, 12 different scrum teams. Each team has its own share of work, has its own backlog, has its own product owner role. But now you need somebody who is going to look at the overall work across 10 scrum teams, or orchestrate 10 different scrum teams and their backlog. So there'll be dependencies, there will be some coordination that is required across multiple teams. So now you need a context where, or you are into a context where you will have multiple backlogs at team levels. You'll have multiple product owners and they will have to be synchronized. So that is where SAFe introduces this role, which is product management role. So both of them are going to be primarily looking at ownership of a backlog only. The level of detail varies. So the product management role will be looking at a backlog which is across the entire agile release train, and a high level view of how the work is to be distributed across different teams, and the high level prioritization. With the team level, you will have a team level backlog, which is a portion out of the overall backlog, and then you will have a team level product owner who will be looking at a team level backlog. So there'll be slight difference between the level of details at which the backlog has to be maintained. So that is where comes these two roles. The product management role is more of outward facing role, in the sense the product management will be more outward facing in terms of uh, getting the pulse of the market, what's happening in the market, what the competitors are doing, where the customers are having their expectations, actually talking with multiple stakeholders, getting their business needs, and then deciding overall how it fits into the overall products roadmap, vision, roadmap, etc. So there'll be multiple, obviously, dimensions from where the needs will flow in. It could be the teams themselves giving suggestions. It could be outside market, competition, technology changes, customer requests, and so on. So somebody has to funnel all of this into an ordered list, and maybe put it on the overall product roadmap, and then slowly break it into a PI or a quarterly view, and so on and so forth. So that is that is also a lot of work, and it has to be done by somebody. So that is where the product management role comes in, who primarily is outward facing and then bringing the needs internally within the context of a particular group who has to develop that solution, but across multiple scrum teams, and then prioritize it at a certain level. Now this becomes more of a strategic view and a roadmap and a strategic backlog level kind of a view. Now you need more tactical view as well, meaning at a more operational level, at team level. So this representation of what we need to do has to be now funneled and broken down into multiple team levels backlogs, and that is where now each team level product owner role will come in. So this will be more of a inward facing role, where they will have to, obviously they will also connect with the customer, they will also contribute to the overall product roadmap strategy, etc. But primarily they will be inward facing, in a sense they'll work closely with the teams and then making sure that that requirement is flown in a correct way up to the team level. The team understands the exact business needs, and then we start building the features or solutions incrementally. So that is a slight difference. The PM role is more outward facing, more strategic in nature. The PO role is more tactical, inward facing, more closely working with the team level. So that is where the content ownership varies a bit. The product management role is overall responsible for the train level backlog, which is the larger group working together as multiple scrum teams. They will have content authority in terms of what gets built first, what gets built last, etc. Overall product vision, roadmap, and so on. So more high level stuff, strategic level backlog prioritization. And a product owner is team level, more tactical, operational level part. So the granularity and the level of detail vary. And that's how these two roles are introduced. And that is what this particular certification focuses on. So most of the certifications in SAFE are role based. Not most of, all of them are role based. For example, this module, which is SAFE POPM, which is what we'll talk about now, is obviously focused on these two roles. Likewise, you have other modules also like Safe Scrum Master and so on. So they are all role driven, and this is the role that it tries to address, obviously in the context of SAFE as a framework. Now SAFE has all these concepts of train, and then it works with a cadence of PI, and I'm not going to go into details, but there is this concept of planning interval or a PI, and you plan for a PI and so on and so forth. So these roles obviously are expected to be part of this. You need to understand the framework and then work in the context of a framework and contribute to backlog level part primarily. At a higher level, detailed level, PM and the PO role. That is broadly the context. Now about this particular course or this certification or credential, let's see some details of that. Now the learning objectives primarily, meaning what is it that I will learn out of this particular course, is following. So there are primarily 5 topics or 5 lessons or 5 areas that get covered. So first topic is obviously we spend some time with SAFE as a framework. We get to see that big picture that I showed you some time back on one of the previous slides. We go through different areas of the framework, concepts like art and the PI and different events and roles. All that is touched upon at a higher level. Then the framework is based on some lean agile concepts, principles, so we touch upon that. There is a concept of value stream which comes from lean, so that is covered at length. Because as a product manager, I should look at overall stream of work and not just my silo. So we also spend some time understanding this concept of value stream and so on and so forth. And it also covers at some length the roles and responsibilities between the product owner and the product management role, which I quickly touched upon in the last few slides. But the first topic will go in bit more detail. So this is what gets covered as a first objective, meaning it will introduce the framework and different aspects of the framework, and then we review or revisit some of the agile and lean concepts because the framework is based on that, and then we dive a little deeper into some of the concepts of lean, and then we explore the roles of and responsibilities of these two roles, product owner and product management role. The second learning objective or a second takeaway from this session will be where we now start seeing or start going into details as to how these two roles start contributing in the overall scheme of things. So as I mentioned, we have this concept of PI, and the overall agile release train moves with the cadence of PI. So there are different events like PI planning and so on. So then these two roles are supposed to contribute in all of these. So we start going into details and see how they fit in this overall scheme of things and where they contribute. So it starts with preparing for PI planning, because finally the train moves with the cadence of PI. So we have to plan a PI. Now, before you plan, we need to prepare for a PI, which means there has to be enough backlog, which is just enough ready. So there is a preparation that has to go before we can come up with a backlog, which can become an input to PI planning. So what all needs to happen as a preparation, where all PM comes into picture as a role, product management, where product owner takes it over, how do you shape up the backlog? So all of that is covered as part of this particular section in the overall training module. So this will be a second learning objective, where we see how these two roles work together and contribute in preparing for the PI planning. So we understand what is PI planning to start with, and then we start with this, that is, how the product manager shapes up the overall product vision, roadmap, and how it translates into a backlog, maybe a PI level view, and then a sprint level view. So how do you start zooming it in into more and more granular details, and how you start shaping up the backlog at different levels of detail. Now, to shape up this, we need to use certain techniques. So the framework does have certain topics from this customer centricity and design thinking. So we get introduced to different techniques from design thinking, like empathy maps and personas and journey map, story map, and so on and so forth. So those techniques are covered as part of this, because using those techniques is how we translate the needs into a roadmap, and then to a more granular view into a PI and a sprint level view. So then it starts shaping up your backlog, and then it has to be prioritized. So we also see some prioritization techniques. So it's a big lesson per se, but there are a lot of things that get covered as part of this objective. Now, once it prepares something, or we have enough backlog which is well baked up or shaped up, then that will become an input to PI planning. So again, these two roles will obviously be part of the PI planning. So where they contribute, we go into details of the PI planning event. There's a 2-day PI planning. So we see where all these two roles will be required and will contribute during those 2 days, and then how they get involved in this actual PI planning part. So we do a simulation of PI planning, etc., with the involvement of the PO role, both these roles primarily throughout these PI planning exercise. Now, after preparation is done, we do PI planning. After PI planning is done, we go into execution. Now, when the plan is put into execution, that is, we start now actually developing that those stories that we have put on the plan. Now, again, the POs and PMs will have to stay involved, because plan is plan. So it may not go as expected. There will be certain things which will change. You will see some changes coming up in between. Some teams may not deliver as expected. There will be spillovers. So one team may have dependency on other. The other team doesn't finish. So I have to make adjustments. All those things will happen. So there are some events which are at agile release train level to basically synchronize and make those adjustments on an ongoing basis. Of course, the execution happens through iterations. So there are certain iteration level events where the PO role will be involved, like in sprint planning. And so, as I mentioned, the PO role is more tactical at a team level. They will be involved. They do contribute in all these events, like your sprint planning and review and retro and refinement and all those. So we see those details, and we also see the art level events where these two roles primarily will contribute in order to synchronize on an ongoing basis to see if there is any adjustment required. There is also it is also important to ensure that we are shaping up the backlog while you're in current PI. We should start looking at the backlog for the next PI. So ongoing backlog preparation, and then we have to start working with these features and then epics, stories, and then split them and all that. So we go into those details to see how the breakdown of the stories should happen. Then we touch upon different aspects like those 3 C's: invest, and given, when, then, formats for acceptance. There are a lot of details. So we see those things as part of this part. So it's both at both level. It is at art level how these roles are involved to synchronize across multiple teams, and within a team level, how do you shape up a backlog at team level, or make sure that there is enough backlog at team level. And it touches upon estimation also, because estimation is an input for prioritization. So all those topics are covered. So it's quite in depth. It also has some coverage on this DevOps, and then CD pipeline. So we briefly see what this CD continuous delivery pipeline is, and how it fits in the context of PO role and the PM role, because it's supposed to deliver continuously, no? Integration and deployment and actual delivery. So then release on demand. So how the PO and PM will play a pivotal role in deciding when to release, and so on and so forth, when it gets into the CDP context. So those are the details that are discussed as part of this objective as well. And lastly, of course, then the overall course content also talks about the exam, which I will also cover now. But that's the broadly the topics that get covered during this 2 full day session. So by the way, it's 2 full days program. Roughly the first 2 bullet points is what get covered on the first day, roughly. And then the PI planning, maybe we cover part of it, but then most of it gets covered on day 2 along with the remaining topics. So that's how it spreads between 2 days. So it's 2 full days session, about 16 hours in total, 8 hours a day, something like that. That's the overall length of the training program. I'll talk about the overall process and the logistics, and then although the details will come in sometime. But that's how, or that's what you can expect as part of coverage or topics that get covered during these 2 days of module. Of course, it's in line with the certification exam and as per the standard content that is given by the Scaled Agile Academy. So now we'll talk about the overall process as to how this certification thing is going to work. So there is a standard content outline and the course agenda from Scaled Agile Academy. So there's a content also given. All the slides and the presentations and the course material is all standardized, developed by Scaled Agile Academy, which is what we use as SPCs, and we deliver the same content. Of course, we use some of the supporting examples and stuff like that to complement their content, because sometimes things are illustrated better with using some examples that we'll have. So we'll use some supporting slides, but then primarily there is a standard content which comes from Scaled Agile Academy, which is what we deliver. Now that's the overall process. So we register the class. So whenever you enroll for this exam or for this certification module, you'll be part of a batch. So Talentum being a partner, so we'll create a class, we'll register that class. You will be one of the participants registered in that class. We'll do all the license purchase, etc., and you will be registered. Once you get registered as a participant for this particular course, you will receive an email from Scaled Agile Academy, and it will give you an access to their community portal. So you'll be, your email ID with which you register will be your user ID. You create your own password, you create a credential, and then you can log in into their portal. Now their community portal, which is called as Safe Studio now, with the recent revision that they did. So that Safe Studio is where you will get access to almost everything for this particular certification. Meaning you will find your course material there. You will find your final exam also there. All the preparation content also will be part of the Safe Studio, and the access to that studio will become available, or it will get enabled once we register you as a participant on that class. So typically when we open up the nominations and you register, we have a batch that we create. We register it with Scaled Agile Academy. We add you as a participant. We register you. You do the license purchase, etc. And then that's how it gives you an access to that Safe Studio or the community portal. Now you can log in into that portal even before the training as well, because that is where you will have the access enabled. So you can just confirm that your registration is done. After that, we actually deliver the sessions. That is, we do this training, and the topics that I covered in the last 2 slides are covered as part of that. Once the training is complete, we mark the attendance. So sometimes it does happen that we register, but you're not able to attend, etc. So we just confirm that whoever has registered actually has attended, etc. And we inform it or confirm it in the system. Whoever has attended the training and was registered for the class will receive another email confirmation from Scaled Agile Academy, automated notification that now your learning plan gets enabled. So till here, you are just registered as a participant. After the training is completed and your attendance is confirmed in the system, there will be something called as a learning plan in your community portal or Safe Studio portal, and it will be enabled for you. So that learning plan has a bunch of things. So it has some topics for your revision. There are some videos which you can watch before, after, during the training. There are some revision links given which you can refer to for your quick preparation before the actual exam. There is a practice exam also included as part of your learning plan. And then there is a final exam, certification exam. Now, all of this is included in your learning plan. It's like a workflow. You have to complete all of that. And then you go to your final exam. The final test for the certification has to be taken within 30 days, 30 calendar days after your training is completed. So you get 30 days after you complete the training to take the final test. Now you can take it anytime during these 30 days. It's up to you. Whenever you think you are prepared, you can complete your learning plan. From the Safe Studio itself, you will find a link to your final exam. You will take that test from the Safe Studio or the community portal and attempt the test. Once you clear the exam, you will get the credential. So so that's the overall process. So after the training, we mark the attendance, you get the learning plan. Now you have to complete the learning plan. That is, you have to watch some of those videos, provide the feedback, take the practice test, and then the final exam. So you go through this, and then you need to finish all of that within 30 days. That is the expectation. Now that one attempt for this exam is included in your registration. That will be done by Talentum, for example. Now, that is the overall process. So this is all handled by us up till here, up till the 5th step. After this, once the learning plan is enabled, it is between you and Scaled Agile Academy. So you have access to the Safe Community Portal. You have to access your learning plan. You have to take the test. So for the last 3 steps, it is you and Scaled Agile Academy. Now, we don't get involved there. For the first 5 steps, we will be doing that from our side. Now about the exam. So the final certification exam and also the practice test that you will have. Practice test is like a simulation of the final test. So I'll talk about the practice test in a while, but let's talk about the exam first. So overall, the exam that you will take from the community portal is for 90 minutes. The duration is 90 minutes, and within that you have to attempt 45 questions. 80% is a pass criteria. It's a web-based test, so you can take it from anywhere, from your office, home, wherever you have a reasonable internet connection. You can take the test. It's accessible through your learning plan, as I already mentioned, through the Safe Studio. First attempt is included in the registration fee, and as I mentioned, it has to be taken within the 30 days of the course completion. In case if you're not able to take this test within 30 days, or you're not able to clear it, and if you want to take a exam again, if there is a retake that is required, then this is the fee. So $50 is a $50 is a reattempt fee or retake fee, and that is again directly between you and Scaled Agile Academy. So in case if you are not able to take this test within 30 days, or if you are not able to clear, then you can, and if you want to retake it, then you have to pay $50 to Scaled Agile Academy. Again, that is directly between you and SAI. We don't get involved there. So you pay $50 to SAI directly using your credit card. You get your next attempt enabled. Mostly you won't require the second attempt, but in case if you need. Now about the type of the questions that you will expect in the exam. So typically, it's an objective test. So one question at a time flashes on your screen, and it is a multi-choice question. So sometimes there are multiple choices that you have to choose. Sometimes a single select. Then the question will clarify very clearly. Select 2 or which of the following 3, something like that, and you have to make a choice accordingly. Sometimes it's a single answer, in which case you will see a radio button. So one question at a time comes. You have to choose the answer and go to the next question. You can mark questions for review in case if you want to revisit them, etc. Most of the times the time is enough. The 90 minutes for 45 questions is enough. But in case if you're not sure about some answer, etc., you can mark it for review. You can come back, revisit, change your answers. All that typical multiple choice objective test format is there. The practice test that is included in your learning plan is a simulation of the final test. So anyways, you have to take the practice test before you go to the final exam, and it gives you a good rehearsal in terms of how the exam engine is going to behave, or you get familiar with that. Yeah, I mean, 90 minutes are over, or you click finish. Whatever happens earlier, the test will be over. You will know the results immediately. It will flash immediately whether you have passed, failed, etc. It will show you the score. And then you can download your certificate credentials from the link that you will get. The practice test is a good simulation, I think. I mean, it's reasonable. You can repeat the practice test multiple times. There is no restriction. You can retake the practice test multiple times within the learning plan that you have. Now, once you clear the test and you get this credential, then the validity of the credential is for 1 year. After that, there is a renewal expected. Again, it's up to you. If you want to renew, you may renew. If you don't renew, the credential lapses. For renewal, there is no exam, but there is a renewal fee. I'm not sure about the exact fee. I think it's $150. I don't remember exactly. You can check their website for the exact details, but I think it's somewhere around 100 to $150 is a renewal fee. It is not more than 150, that is for sure, but you can check their website. I have pasted a link here and I'll share that in the chat window. You will find some details about the exam, more than this, on this link also. So in case if you want to explore further. I think that's all I wanted to share from my side. It's been, I've taken around 35 minutes already. I think 35 minutes. So I will pause here now and then we'll open it for questions, if any. So in case if there are any questions added in the chat window, we can take that. I have not monitored my chat window, or else we can feel free to just start discussing the questions. I will be more than happy to answer those in the remaining time. You get a recorded session of this event. I think Niranjan can answer that. I think we're recording it, but Niranjan, maybe you can clarify.
Yes, certainly we can share. Please send me your email address for me to be able to share this recording.
Okay. Any other questions? If you have, let me know. By the way, I have added that link in the chat window where you can find some additional inputs about or information about this logistics and all that. Mostly I've covered it, but I've shared a link. You can go through it. One other side note: in case if you're already a PMP certified, etc., or a Scrum Master certification, whatever those certifications, you can claim 16 PDUs for PMP or SCUs for your CSM or other credentials as part of this training as well. So you will be able to claim those things. They are registered courses with PMI or Scrum Alliance. So that is another thing that you can get out of this. The course material, etc., is all downloadable from their website, the Safe Studio that I mentioned. So you'll get a course material, you will get lots of preparation material, lots of videos and reading material, and a participant workbook. All of that is included as part of your learning plan, and you will be able to download that once you are registered from their website through that community portal or Safe Studio that I talked about. Okay, any other questions? So I don't see anything in the chat window, whatever I had.
So if we have done Scrum Master, it will be little easier, I guess, right? Go through this material. Scaled agile.
Yes, meaning honestly, the SAFE certifications, they assume that you know Scrum or some of these methods at team level. So it actually doesn't go into those details. It talks more in terms of the SAFE framework things only. Like it starts with the SAFE framework context, and then goes into those details. So it expects you to know Scrum or something at a team level anyways. So yes, I mean, it will be more easy to take it forward from there. Because as part of the 2 days training, it doesn't go into details of what is Scrum and what those events are. It doesn't go into those details. So it assumes that we know those things, and then we only discuss how to make it work at scale. That's it, in the context of this framework. So that way.
Yeah.
What is the cost of the training? I think Niranjan, you can comment on that.
Sure.
Niranjan, there is a question from Rupa.
Yes, I'm answering.
Okay, fine.
To answer your question, the standard price for this training is INR 35,400 rupees plus taxes. But there is a discount that we are offering right now. So the discounted price is 31,860 rupees. This is an online course. Would be led live by Sachin himself. Yes.
Yes.
As Sachin mentioned, sorry, Sachin. You can answer that. You are better equipped to do that.
Yeah, so this price will include both the training plus certification, because as I mentioned some time back, the registration of the course, adding you and as a participant and giving you access to that studio, safe studio, and all the material and one attempt of the exam. All of this is included in that. So it is training plus certification. That is how it is to be completed anyways. Meaning only those who complete training will get access to the final exam anyways. So it is both included. So the price is inclusive of both training plus certification. One attempt of the certification.
So the current batch is scheduled on 10th and 11th of August, this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
It's not every weekend, but once in a month we do have that batch. So generally, how much time it will take to prepare for exam? It depends on individual, but on an average, couple of weeks should be enough. Of course, you can be quicker, but about 2 weeks. Assuming you are working, you can find only so much time, or probably no time sometimes on a working day, and you will probably spend some time on the weekend. So about a couple of weeks is a reasonable time. It will not take all 30 days, I believe. It's not that that you will be able to do it next day also. So it will needs a little bit of preparation. So a couple of weeks, reasonable, should be a reasonable time for preparation. Again, it depends on individual, but average maybe a couple of weeks. So it's not as difficult as PMP, and it's not as simple as CSM. Let me put it that way.
And for registration to this batch, Tomorrow I'll be sharing an email with you with details of how to register for this program. You'll get an email in your email box.
Okay, I think looks like no other questions.
Yeah.
Anyone with PMP certification, are they advised to take POPM? See, I think these two are two different certifications focusing to different areas. So PMP is more for project management aspect, which is where the product owner or the requirements is only one part of the project management. There are other areas also, right? So as a project manager, probably I'm working with product owner or product manager or BA as one of the stakeholders. There are many other people, many other stakeholders with whom I will work to synchronize and coordinate many parts. So project management is a very broad area then, where product management or product ownership is a part of it, because requirements management is only one part of project management. There are many other aspects. So PMP is very broad. It's targeted at a different expectation, where you are managing a project, where you will work with maybe PO as just one of the team members or one of the stakeholders. So that way you cannot compare. Their scope or their coverage itself is completely different. But if you have already done PMP, and if you want to learn more about product ownership or product management, that's fine. Definitely you can learn about it, because PMP doesn't go into details of product ownership. No? Because as a project manager, I don't have to be a product owner. So I don't have to know all those skills and all. I have a product owner who is skilled with that. So I'm going to work with that person and manage overall things. So project management, PMP will not go into details of learning tools and techniques and skills of product ownership. That is where it stays at certain level. But if I want to know more about product ownership role, yes, you will benefit from it that way. So it's very targeted to one specific role, this POPM certification, and it is one of the roles on a project. And a project manager will probably work with 50 other roles on a project to orchestrate whole thing that way. Yeah, it will help. Any knowledge helps, but if I'm playing that role, it will help. Otherwise, as a project manager, I'll appreciate what complexity product owner or product manager has to deal with. That is another advantage of it. But otherwise, if I'm a project manager and I want to be a project manager and continue to be a project manager, then the POPM role will give me a flavor of it. But maybe I'll understand the pain of the POPM role better as a project manager. But besides that, it's a role who is working with me on that project that way. Okay, I think Niranjan, looks like there are no more questions. Maybe
Yes.
then we can
Looks like.
close early. Yeah.
So if there are no more questions, we conclude this session. I thank you all of you for your valuable time in the evening, and we look forward to your nominations for the weekend batch for Safe POPM.
Okay. Thanks all. Have a good evening or good night based on your time zone. Bye bye. Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks, Niranjan. Bye.
Thanks, Sachin.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.